the only thing that I can muster up is thank you to this team. I love these Knicks. And you know what stinks? We will never see this group of guys together again. That's it. When they went back to that locker room and took off those uniforms, this team died. But, pride, being galvanized, being as emotionally invested in any New York team that I've been, emotionally invested in maybe the 96 Yankees, the 98 Jets. It's been a minute. So we'll get into the other more interesting stuff. Myself, Sal, and now this is all you, brother. I want to say this. Thank you. You guys are awesome.
Yeah, it was a fun ride. You know what's weird is that there usually is... You don't see everybody on the same page. And everybody, all the fans, all the media, basically saying the same exact thing. Hey, it was a great season, even though they fell short. Think about that. Like 20 years ago, or 30 years ago, I should say, almost 30 years ago, the last time the Knicks lost a Game 7 at home, it was completely different, where there was despondency, anger, frustration, disbelief, all those different things.
Yep.
Yesterday, it was just kind of like, all right, whatever. And the way that it ended was fitting with Brunson breaking or fracturing his hand. It was typical and symbolic of the way that this season went for them. But as every man to himself basically said, Tibbs or the players, they gave everything they had. What more could you possibly want? And it does go to show you, BT, that you don't need to end the season with a championship every single year for it to be a success. The 2024 Knicks were a team that you could be proud of. Ultimately, they fell short. They lost.
Yep.
It is what it is, but you could be proud of this team because you knew that if they were healthy, it would have been a different outcome.
Well, Sal, think about the difference. You referenced the last time there was a Game 7 at the Garden, Patrick's finger roll. Patrick Ewing at that point, he was beginning to get a little hobbled. We all remember the calf, which is probably why he didn't dunk it, mistimed his jump, didn't quite have that bounce and that pop that he had early in his career. Patrick Ewing was drafted first overall back in 85. So when you're talking about the 1995 finger roll miss, that's a lot of miles and a lot of ice packs on those knees that were going. And the difference then is that you kind of felt that certainly that iteration, that was over. Now they made some changes. Obviously, you made the big trade. Obviously, some pieces. Larry Johnson comes in. You get Allen Houston. Totally different team. While this Knicks team will change, you're going to have to tweak some things, whether it's a contract, whether it's a Mitch trade. And again, we'll get to all of it. The core of this team is under contract. They are young. And that certainly gives you hope for the future. But man, oh man, Sal, it's disappointing because I just didn't think that this run was going to end the way it did. In a lot of ways, they had no business even being here. They really didn't. The Knicks had almost no business beating the Sixers. And when you really go back to that, with Joel Embiid, who's one of the top 2-3 players in the NBA. And then, I know it hurts when you jump out to a 2-0 lead, but that OG Anunoby injury, and I called it. And man, if there was anything that I wish I was wrong on, it was that. I came in, I said, for the first time, I don't think they're going to win this series.
Right, but you also said after Game 5 they were going to win the series.
I know, but my mindset changed.
Understood, and I understand why. Anunoby's a key piece of the team. There's only so much you could take. However, they did smoke the same Pacers team in Game 5. They did then get smoked in return in Game 7. There were different teams from Game 2 to Game 3 and 4.
Yeah.
They're not a different team from Game 5 to Game 7. So how come they could spank the Pacers in Game 5 and then get spanked in Game 7?
Well, I would challenge that. What do you mean they weren't a different team? First of all, Jalen Brunson broke his hand. Then OG Anunoby.
They were down by 20 in the first half.
I understand that. No, listen.
He broke his hand in the third quarter.
No, I'm not saying the Knicks played well, yes. Right. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just offering context as to why.
Josh Hart, him being banged up, different.
How big was the needle that Josh Hart took? I guarantee that Josh Hart's not doing a thing for a month. 3 weeks. I don't know what happened. Ain't good. And, okay, we see a little Willis Reed snippet. Here's OG, especially when he hammers that long triple from the corner. It was fun. But you watched him play defense for one rotation. I'm like, there's no way this guy's getting through the game. So
couldn't walk.
I know.
He shouldn't have been out there. It was actually stupid to have him out there.
Yeah.
He couldn't move.
Here's the thing, though. Sometimes you get cleared and you're okay. And then, one thing that you can't choreograph or orchestrate in pregame workouts, you get an abrupt shift of direction first series of the game, and it goes from, maybe he can play to he's done. It is what it is. Season's over. There's a million ways to view it, but if you don't start with this as a positive, you guys missed an awesome story. 877-337-6666. BT and Sal on the Fan inside of our Town Fair Tire studio. Friends at Town Fair remind you that you always get the guaranteed lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. Joe is in Brooklyn first up on the Fan. Joe, what's going on?
Gentlemen, good morning. Listen, BT, I hear what you're saying. I mean, this is the first time I've been emotionally invested with the Knicks. I mean, since '95, since the finger roll. I mean, you're talking how many years ago? I'm like 61 years old. I really just got back into them this year. Just very disappointed. It was, again, one of those nights where, especially when you saw the T-Wolves coming back from 20 in the third quarter, we almost had to come back. And it's just, and I hear what you're saying about being positive, and I'm not angry. I'm definitely not angry, but, you know, against Dan Marino, you never know if you're going to get back to this point again. Like you said, they're going to change the team, and a couple, they're going to tweak it here and there, and it's just very sad. And, you know, misery loves company, and I didn't want to listen to you guys today because I just wanted to get away from it because it was one of those middle of the night things. I can't believe they lost. I was looking so forward to it yesterday, and then bam, they're down by 20 points. It was like Glavin in the winning in game. You know, it was like, but I got to my seat, they were losing 7-0.
The Marlins.
This is horrible.
Yeah, Joe.
But,
Well, Joe, thanks for the call. You know, everybody processes it how they process it, but Sal, I don't know how you can take away anything, at least early, and we'll get to the other stuff. And there's a lot of stuff to get to, and it's not necessarily all favorable. But I don't know how your initial reaction, I don't mean when you're getting beat in Game 7. I mean now, or as you finally go to sleep last night, how it doesn't start from a good place. I'm not sure. And again, you know, if people do and did have a different set of emotions, I'm not going to lecture people, but I would think that the overwhelming majority of Knicks fans are feeling what I felt, and I think what most people felt.
I think everybody's feeling that same way. But you got to say why. It can't just be, oh, well, thank you. But why thank you? It's because this team gave the max effort every single step of the way. They left everything out there. I've always said this. You could ask from the owner, players, as long as they do whatever it takes to possibly win a game, win in a season, build a team to go win a championship. That's all you could ask. I don't know how you could ask any more of this team. Ultimately, they fell short. Would they have fell short if they were fully healthy? Maybe. Unfortunately, we'll never know. I don't think they would have fell short in this series. But the reason why everybody feels like that, and it is rare, because normally it's somebody's ticked off for one reason, somebody's ticked off for another reason. Somebody could say, no, I see the positive. Other could see the negative. Generally, the majority of people after this season feel the same way. Yeah, you're disappointed that they lost, but you understand why they lost, and you accept the fact that they gave everything they possibly can. They just ran out. It's nothing else to do. They ran out. I mean, that's it. They were tapped out. And now they're going home.
And by the way, if we're sitting here next year, this is not the tone that we're striking next year. This is a one-year pass.
Oh, but what if it happens again like this, where everybody's injured again?
It'll never happen like this again. It will never happen again like this. We can live 50 more years. We will never see a team, I honestly believe this, go through what they went through this year. I've never seen it in my first 50 years.
Right, but we don't know. And you can't just say that, if this team disappointed this year as far as the distance they went. Like, they should have gotten to the Eastern Conference Final. They did not. Now, you want to take it as a whole and say, yeah, there are reasons for it. Obviously, that's why everybody's saying today, this is, how could you knock this team? They gave max effort. But ultimately, they were supposed to go to, at the very least, an Eastern Conference Final. A couple of weeks ago, people talking NBA championship.
Now, Sal, are you saying that because they were the 2-seeded, because they were 2 up in this, because to me,
they're better than the Pacers, so they should not have lost to the Pacers.
I've been telling you for the last 2 weeks, this team's good. Right. I mean,
the Pacers would have no chance if the Knicks were healthy in this series.
All right, but that's different than the Pacers not being good, or the Pacers are a talented team. They just happen to be young.
I guess my point is, it's not okay that the Knicks lost in the second round just because they're not there yet. It's okay that they lost in the second round because they were depleted. I mean, they're playing Alec Burks. What more do you need to know?
Which hurt more, this year or last year with Miami?
I think last year was more disappointing.
Yes, no question about it.
I mean, maybe disappointing is not the right word. This year you had higher expectations. Last year you chalk it up for, hey, this was their first year in the postseason. This year there's legitimate reason to why they got bounced by a Pacers team who they were better than. But 2 years in a row, they did lose to teams that they were better than.
877-337-6666. Williston Park, Brad, BT and Sal. Brad, what's happening, buddy? How you doing?
BT, it's one of those days where you have to be thankful for what we just saw, and we have to be thankful for a team that was depleted completely. I get what you're saying, Sal, in regards to the fact that the team was not different in regards to personnel between Games 5 and Game 7. But if you saw Josh Hart and you said that, he probably got a needle that he's not going to.
Yeah, he was compromised
for the next month.
Right, he was compromised, but that's not why they lost yesterday.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Yesterday, the Pacers punched them in the mouth.
Yep.
The Pacers had the best shooting day ever. I think if OG was healthy, it would have been very differently defensively, but that's just me. And to be completely honest with you, the Pacers have been very lucky in these playoffs. We can all agree on that. They faced the Bucks with no Giannis and half a Dame, and they faced the Knicks with a depleted team. Would not be shocked if we're talking about the Celtics wiping the floor with them.
Yeah.
But it's not the day for that. It's the day to thank the Knicks and to have a different mentality going into next year. Let me be the first to say it and the last to probably say it this year. Go New York, go.
Yeah, boy, Brad's a good call. I mean, guys, listen, I know many of you know this if you were, dug in from day one. I mean, opening night, we're watching R.J. Barrett. We're watching Quickly. We're watching Randall, all gone for different reasons. Then you throw OG into it. Then he's gone. Then different roles are expanded out of necessity. Somebody like Miles McBride. Then, Jalen Brunson just fully, punctuated the thought that, he's a star. A superstar, like the different team. Oh, man. I was thinking about this on the ride in, and I was in the stadium when Vinny ruptured his Achilles back in '99, coming off the AFC Championship appearance. Obviously, Rodgers last year. Like, there have been Mattingly's back. There's been other injuries that derail things. It's uncanny. It's almost unfair, but it's not, because you'd have to think that this is going to get better, not because, magic potion and elixirs that will just fix this magically, but for the first time, Sal, don't you think that the Knicks management, how do we not have faith that more good stuff's coming?
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I mean? That's what's good.
Well, forget about even that. We're in the midst of, they've been in the playoffs 3 of the last 4 seasons. I mean, the foundation has been built. So, yeah, I mean, I fully expect the Knicks to be back in the postseason again next year and building a legitimate team. Now, again, we could have that conversation, what they need to do, what should they do here as far as Randall goes, Anunoby, Hartenstein, which player they should target, what do we think the bigger needs are. It's going to be an exciting offseason here for this team, but I don't think anybody's questioning that. It's just a matter of, to what degree do you accept their defeat to a Pacers team who they were better than? And I would argue that even without Anunoby, and I did, even without Anunoby, they should have beaten this Pacers team. They didn't. They fell short.
I didn't see that. I didn't see it early. I kind of, went a little bit after but I mean, I've been telling you, the Pacers team's good.
I know, but after Game 5, you said that they were going to win the series. So we agreed.
No, understood. Oh, no, I got you, but I didn't think it's not even about predictions.
Right.
That's
agreed. Agreed.
But I just like the pace. Like it's one thing.
But there's a reason why, right? It's not. You're right. It's not about the predictions, but the reason was that the Knicks, even without Anunoby, now it's a major loss. They should still be better than the Pacers.
They should be, but maybe not as much as some people think. Like, I don't know. I think this Pacers team is going to be a handful for a while. I mean, you're going to get on, all right, Halliburton thinking he's Reggie. All right, you're not quite that yet, but Halliburton made a little mark yesterday that we're not going to forget. And let's see where that goes from here. I mean, you got a big who can shoot threes. They're good. They're talented. In a lot of ways, I think the Knicks were the team that wasn't that talented, like that overachieved. So we'll see. But, just obviously a lot to unpack. Pete's in Seaford. Pete, what's going on?
Hey, guys.
Hey, Pete.
I'll start by saying I think whatever happens in the East is window dressing for the Minnesota Timberwolves. They just look like on a different level than everybody else right now. From the number 1 defense all season, number 1 defense in the playoffs, now they're the number 1 offense in the playoffs. Again, that's just me talking. I do think the Celtics are very beatable. I would not be surprised if the Pacers give Boston a real series here. I do not see this being some sort of gentleman's sweep.
Oh, I agree.
Going Boston's way.
I agree.
On the Knicks, the only thing I'll say about yesterday is I thought Tibbs was a little late to make adjustments. You had 2 straight games where Halliburton just cooked Deuce McBride. And maybe because Josh Hart didn't have that lateral movement because of the abdominal injury, Tibbs couldn't switch him onto Halliburton, and they went with the combination of Deuce and Devo, which just did not work. I mean, you had a guy who came out, they shot, almost 80% in the first quarter. That just doesn't happen in an NBA game, and I just thought Tibbs was a quarter late in making any kind of adjustment, and even with the super limited personnel.
Well, now, hold on a sec, Pete. Hold on. Now, so I got you, and I don't think you're wrong, but are you saying, get to the point. If they had a different coach, do they win? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying in one game, one game vacuum, and again, maybe on Monday morning quarterbacking this, maybe how do you handicap for an 80% shooting first quarter from an NBA team? How do you
I don't know. Maybe you
that?
Put somebody on their ass. Maybe you start with that. How many layups could you get? Trust me, as thankful as I am, doesn't mean that they played well yet. They were awful. There was a moment where that play sounded unlike anything that I've ever heard in my life with any venue in this area. And it was when right before Brunson got hurt, they were starting to cook a little bit. And I'm like, here we go. They're going to actually come back and they're going to make a game of this, obviously, and they're going to find a way to win. And then I even thought that, again, not to get into Alec Burks for 5 minutes, but I felt like he forgot about Alec Burks. Alec Burks got in there, and even J.J. Redick said it. He's like, they're losing by 20-something, but Burks is making buckets to at least give you a chance to come back. Otherwise, you'd be down by 40. Thought Tom Thibodeau forgot about him. So we know that they lost, okay, number one. Now let's get into, coming up next, why they lost and what they can do to make sure they don't lose this way again. BT and Sal on The Fan.